Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this episode of Excel in the Office, where I show you skills that I've learned in my career as an analyst. For today, I'm going to be showing you a common pivot table noise that can be solved with the use of the name manager. So here's our classic pivot table here. And one of the most common issues I'm referring to is if we go up here to Pivot Table Analyze, we click on Change Data Source, we see that we have a range here that is static essentially, right? So if we add data to the end of this table, if we add columns to the right over there, it will not automatically adjust if it's beyond that range, right? So this is one common issue I see with coworkers. If they add data or add columns at the end of this, their pivot tables do not contain that updated data. So we want to be able to adjust for how many rows we add or how many columns we add. So we're going to go ahead and use the name manager. So if I get out of that and we go to our data tab, if we go to formulas, go to name manager here, we're going to go ahead and click on new. We're going to type in data set for our name. It could be any name, just referring to as data set for simplicity. So if we go down here to refers to, we're going to start off with equals offset. So some of you may have seen the offset formula before, but this is where we can use it to adjust for the height and the width of the data set. Normally you go by columns or the row number. I've seen some, you can use it for adjusting that way. But this case, we're worried about how wide the data set and what is the height of it. So we're going to go ahead and start off our offset with an open parenthesis. We're going to refer to our data tab. Let's go ahead and make that lowercase, exclamation point, and we're going to refer to cell A1. So A1 is our starting point right up there. You can see simple. So we need to expand from that cell across and down. So if we go ahead and just skip the part in the offset formula for rows and columns, and we go ahead to our height portion of it, so we can use count A here. And count A is useful because we can count how many cells have values in them, right? So it's going to skip the empty cells. So that's a critical portion of this. You want to make sure that your column A here that we're about to refer to has no empty cells in it, besides the ones you want to be empty, of course. So if we go ahead and do an open parenthesis, we're going to go ahead and do data, exclamation point AA. We're going to go ahead and lock that. So it's going to refer to column A and count how many cells have values in them. So now it's going to be able to adjust for additional data at the bottom. So let's go ahead and lock that out with a closed parenthesis. We do another comma. And we're going to go ahead and do another count A here. Now we have the rows, but we still need the columns. So how do we adjust for the columns? Well, we're going to add another count A here. And we do an open parenthesis, refer to data, exclamation point, 1, 1. And we're going to go ahead and lock that. And we're going to do a couple closing parentheses. So now we have our data set and the name manager. So if we go ahead and click on close, let's go ahead and just reopen that real quick and see here. So how it expands up at the top and it's going down, right? So if you scroll all the way to the bottom, you will see how it ends right there, okay? So if we go to our pivot table, let's go ahead and do a pivot table analyze, and we're going to go to change data source. Now here is where we're going to type in the name of our data set, or our named range, we just call it data set, right? So we'll go ahead and click on OK. And now this pivot table is referring to that range that we defined, right, with the use of the offset formula. So if we click OK, or click escape, get out of that, click on refresh. Let's go ahead and try to add some data to this so I could show you how it works. So you can see in the show field list, the month is the last column here, but we're going to go ahead and add a column to the very end of it. So let's go to data. Let's go ahead and add a sample column at the very end. Okay, we'll just call that sample. And let's go ahead and add some values. So when we refresh the pivot table, we'll be able to see that it was able to accommodate for the new data. So let's go ahead to our pivot table. Let's click on refresh. And we see sample here, so we have our brand new column that we just added to the very end of it. And then we also saw that the numbers changed. But let's go to pivot table analyze to make sure that those actually did accommodate. Let's go to the very bottom here. And we see now the pivot table automatically adjusted to the new named range here. So we accounted for all those extra rows that we copied and pasted towards the very end of it here. So if we go ahead and click on escape, now we have our new pivot table with a new data source range. And you don't have to worry about going back through and adjusting it every single time. All right, well, that's it for today's video. If you like this video, go ahead and drop a like and subscribe for more. Thank you for watching.